Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carol Lung, Senior Manager of Public Policy at Amazon and Bellevue Chamber's new board chair. On behalf of Amazon, today's session sponsor, and the Chamber, we are pleased to welcome you to today's Chamber Lunch, Orbital Opportunities, Bridging the Digital Divide from Space. The Bellevue Chamber is the most powerful advocate for businesses here on the East Side. With hundreds of members representing tens of thousands of employees, the Chamber brings people together to address complex community issues, network, and help their businesses grow. The Chamber Lunch Series features celebrated speakers from around our region and dive into topics relevant to today's business climate. This is our second lunch of the 2024-2025 event season. Future speakers will include leaders from public safety, government, tech, nonprofits, and more. Before we get started today, I'd like to thank today's sponsors for their continued support of this series. A big thank you to the Bellevue Collection, Vulcan Real Estate, Alipar Bank, as well as our media partners at Lotus, which includes Northwest News Radio, Top Radio KBI, and Pay. I also want to extend a special thank you to our lunch leader, Clark Newbert. This organization supports the Chamber Lunch Series by hosting tables each month. If you are interested in this opportunity for your team, please reach out to Jennifer Kwai. And now I'd like to recognize dignitaries who are here with us today. As I call you in, please give us a wave so we can recognize you. Representative Mylin Tai, Representative Vamin Eslao, Representative Amy Wallen, Deputy Mayor Lynn Robinson, Deputy Mayor Mo Malikuchian, Deputy Mayor Premier Burnley, Bellevue City Councilmember Jared Burnhouse, Dave Hamilton, Conrad Lee, and Gianna Zahn, and Webners and Council Members Angie Niba Kamina and Osman Salvadi. Thank you so much for your public service and all that you do for our region. Next, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow Chamber board members for your involvement with the Chamber. Can board members please stand so we can recognize you? We appreciate the efforts and are looking forward to another year of supporting Bellevue and the second release. And lastly, shout out to our new Bellevue Chamber members that are here today. Welcome to the team. For today's program, we are pleased to welcome Congressman Adam Smith, Washington State Department of Commerce Director Mike Fong, Space Northwest co-founder Kellen Maloney, and Amazon's Vice President of Public Policy and Community Engagement, Brian Huseman, to talk about opportunities in space and how it will help bridge the digital divide. To give us some context before we start the program, let's play a short video that explains more about these opportunities and just how the space industry is growing in our very own backyard.
We're in a 172,000 square foot facility that Kuiper's built for production of our satellites.
We are proud that Washington plays a critical role in Project Kuiper, Amazon's initiative to provide fast, affordable broadband to unserved and underserved communities around the world.
To be able to see us on the brink of launching satellites and the journey we've taken from concept to building factories, building the tools, building the process, and now actually building the satellites is pretty amazing.
Having a global system that's affordable, safe, and reliable is critical to closing the digital divide.
So this is our full-rate production factory for Project Kuiper.
Kuiper's deployment of over 3,000 small LEO, low Earth orbit satellites, is critically important to America's competitiveness. This facility here in Kirkland will serve as that manufacturing hub for those 3,000 LEOs. So today represents another big step in that space economy for Washington, and Project Kuiper, with their goal of increasing global broadband.
It's critical that regardless of where you are in the world, you have access to online banking, you have access to information, and this is just so critical for our lifestyle and for the future.
The city of Kirkland is so excited that Amazon has chosen Kirkland for the Project Kuiper facility. This brings jobs and careers and additional economic growth and opportunity for our community.
We like to say we're the Silicon Valley of space here in Puget Sound. We basically have a $70 billion industry here, and it supports 250,000 jobs.
Amazon's Project Kuiper is creating a whole new class of advanced manufacturing jobs here in Washington. And we're partnering with the Lake Washington Institute of Technology to create a new satellite certificate program for technicians.
Leadership is about bringing jobs to the region, and we're all excited about that. That's why we're excited to be here for Project Kuiper.
Even though we are investing so much into cable and fiber, we cannot reach everyone that way. And so for a lot of the underserved and unserved, I believe Kuiper is a fantastic opportunity.
We're charging ahead really fast. We've got a great team of people, great innovation. We've got the capability now to make that happen, and we're really looking forward to our first launches and building the constellation up.
So cool that this is all happening on the east side. Next, to give us broader context on the space industry in Washington and the state's effort to ensure Washingtonians have access to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet service, we are pleased to have Mike Fong give us an overview of his State Department of Commerce. As Director of Commerce, Mike oversees the Office of Economic Development and Competitiveness, which helps run key sectors like aerospace and commercial space industries. And he also oversees the new Washington State Broadband Office. Mike brings more than 2 decades of experience in the public sector at the city, county, and national levels, leading people and managing complex policy priority. Prior to being appointed Commerce Director by Governor Jay Inslee in 2023, he served as the Pacific Northwest Regional Administrator to the U.S. Small Business Administration, Senior Deputy Mayor of Seattle, and various roles in the homeless tent. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Mike to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Billy Chamber, for hosting lunch today. And I'll thank Joe Fay for what he said, well, I come have lunch, and I kind of thought it was a one-on-one thing. That we're done. There we are. So thanks, Joe. The video actually took half my talking points, so we'll move through this pretty quickly and then get to the main events. As we've been talking about, we're going to spend some time this afternoon talking about a growing and emerging space economy for Washington State. But in reality, this is really building on, 60-year legacy, going back to Boeing's work on the Lunar rover during the Apollo missions, to Aerojet's work around rockets that had sent some of the most significant and seen the realization of some of the most significant NASA missions over the many decades. The unique DNA of the Pacific Northwest is what fosters and enables us to have an enduring role in this emergent economic opportunity, whether that be from software to aerospace to telecommunications or propulsion technology. And it is the foundation for us that we're building on every single day. And we're really excited that, today we're going to have a chance to dig a little deeper and get some really insightful real-time context for where this trajectory is really headed for our stage and our region. And again, to just really put a finer point on just the significance of this, and that, build that enduring legacy of effort and work as Washington positioned to really have end-to-end value chain proposition here in terms of the space companies that we have in our ecosystem that now are helping us represent 13,000 plus jobs in the region and nearly $4.6 billion in economic activity. But of course, with any opportunity around emergent technology is also the incredible nexus to how we can address and tackle stubbornly persistent inequities across our really landscape in so many different ways, and also address gaps in underserved communities. And as Pearl mentioned, one of the efforts the State Department of Commerce is very proud of being a part of is that we house the State Broadband Office, where we are now responsible for administering the very successful $1.2 billion in NTIA funding the state has received in order to build broadband infrastructure into the future. Really a once-in-a-generation opportunity to address so many gaps across our service territory, across the state. But as the video mentions, we also know and realize that that gap's not going to be filled with, as enormous as that investment's to be, it's not going to be filled with just fiber infrastructure, David cost and other barriers. And low Earth orbit technology is really an opportunity and potential for us to meet the gaps in underserved communities, tribal communities across Washington. And we're looking to bring these concentric circles together, this work together in a way where we can really have significant collective impact. At the same time, we're in the business of creating jobs and growing the economy of Washington State. And the space economy presents enormous potential for us in terms of advancing STEM education, creating well-paying jobs, building our workforce development program in a way that ensures that we are fostering homegrown talent to stay right here at home in our backyards. So today, in our discussion, we have an opportunity to hear a little bit about both from the public sector and the private sector as far as where this effort is going. I encourage you, as part of our discussion, to ask questions and take advantage of the limited time that we have with these experts in this critical assessment for Washington State. And for us as State Commerce, an opportunity to really leverage this work for us to continue to build a prosperous economic pathway for all Washingtonians into the future. So thank you for giving me a few minutes to set the table. Our panel today is, it's quite the panel. I'll first start with my friend and Congressman Adam Smith, senior member of the House of Representatives and part of our Democratic leadership team in D.C. His district spans the diverse service territory of South Seattle to the Port of Tacoma and the city of Bellevue. Congressman Smith also serves as a ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, where he is a strong advocate for our military personnel and their families, and managing the host of subcommittees are under his purview. Joining him is going to be Kelly Molly, co-founder and director of Space Northwest. Kelly also serves as the CEO of Hawley Communications, a firm that she founded during the height of the pandemic. Before making this leap, she worked as VP of Strategic Communications and Relationships at Aerotech, an aerospace engineering firm located right here, not right here, across the lake in Seattle, as well as former president and CEO of Aerospace Futures Alliance and the Washington State Space Coalition. And then she's also had a turn in politics, was a former city council member by the city of Turtle. Thank you for being here. And then finally, last but not least, but you've seen him on the video as well, is Brad Huseman. Brian joined Amazon in 2012. Currently serves as the VP of Public Policy and Community Engagement, overseeing policy, community engagement, and economic development work in the U.S. and the Americans. Brian joined Amazon after working at Intel Corporation as Chief of Staff. Also spent a turn as Chief of Staff to the Chairman of the FTC, and then also previously as a federal prosecutor in Judicial Law Department. Brian Furner serves on several boards, including the Board of Information Technology Industry Council and is president of the Board of Rural Adopters, Organization providing veterinary care to burros in Africa. So please join me in welcoming our panel to the stage, and we'll get underway. We're going to start out first question to Congressman Smith, and again to help us set the table a little bit. Maybe this is the most esoteric question to possibly ask, but Congressman, why space? What's the opportunity here for the U.S. and Washington State?
There's two big reasons for it. One certainly is the industrial development, which you, I think, did a great job describing as the video. It's part of our industrial base or economy, going back to Boeing. Boeing did a ton of stuff in space and satellite work as well. But then it's expanded out into Starlink is up there with SpaceX. You saw the Kuipers doing Amazon through Origin. It's a huge job growth opportunity. And certainly you have the big ones, but I've also visited a ton of smaller satellite companies. Leo Stellar, I really just yesterday, they're down in Pacoima. And they're making satellites that are also helping our overall architecture. So regionally, it's a huge event. I believe the Senator Cantwell, what it can be, but the jobs, but I'm telling you, the mayor asked me, we're looking for jobs, how to expand things, and I tried to paraphrase the line from The Graduate. Yes, I'm old. It was, they said plastics, I said space, in a word. And there's all kinds of opportunity there. But speaking as the top Democrat in the Armed Services Committee, what is also absolutely crucial for the future of our national security There has been a rapidly innovated and evolving data space that we see Sable play out on real time in the Ukraine. And secure communications and information systems are absolutely crucial to that. You have to be able to get information securely, certainly to the human beings involved, but also to find targets and make sure that what you fire at said targets hits them, and also to see what's coming. And that's all about space. Space is also becoming more vulnerable. We're not doing too many details on that. So you need resilient sticks. You need a lot of different options. And the final point I would make on this is the relationship between the government and private industry, and it's gotten better in recent years, is crucial to this happen. So much of this is going to be about public-private partnerships. The government's not going to fund as much of it as they did back in the 50s and 60s in that space race. This is going to be crucial that the Department of Defense and our intel community work with the companies out there in the private sector and the commercial industries to develop the space assets that we need and the numbers that we need. And a lot of these things will go back and forth between commercial and national security needs. Longer, that's why everything that you need to do at DoD would make sure that you get in a better position to make all of what I just said happen. But that's why space is so important.
We'll become this, and let's pivot to that private industry space. And Brian, tell us a little bit more about what we were seeing in the video as far as the manufacturing facility and just what, tell us about Amazon's interest in sort of focusing on this one.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Mike. Thank you for your leadership with the broadband office. I also want to thank for Bellevue Chamber. Joe is such a great partner for Amazon in Bellevue, along with Emanuel Robinson and all the with the elected officials here. And I especially want to also thank Pearl and my team for her leadership of Bellevue Chamber this year. So we're so excited to be here at this event and also to talk about that kind of Project Kuiper. People often ask the question, why is Amazon in space? Now, why are you building satellites? So back in 2018, Amazon was trying to think about what our customer needs will be in the future. And of course, as we all know, there are millions and millions of people around the world who do not have access to high quality, affordable, fast broadband that is service. And that is a need for our customers. So we developed Project Kuiper. Kuiper is actually it's a belt, so the asteroid belt, like outside of the solar system. That's the why we put the name on it. We're investing $10 billion in this project. We're going to launch 3,232 low Earth orbit satellites. They're going to be very close to the Earth. They're going to be between 590 to 630 kilometers, so which is going to be very, very low. So that means they're able to get high speed, high quality broadband to our customers. We launched our first 2 prototype satellites last year, and they had 100% mission success. So it works. We're going to start a service next year to our customers. We're very excited by the use cases, what this can mean for businesses, governments, individuals around the world. You think about hospitals and government agencies, even precision agriculture technology that will be able to use this service that's going to be high speed, it's going to be affordable. We're just really excited by it, and also happy that the Puget Sound and Washington State is the center of our efforts to do this.
Brian G, for folks out in the audience, just to drill down a little bit further, tell us a little bit about how the technology differ from traditional broadband, and I know we started about down this path, but for your perspective, how does it help broadband? Is it about that?
There are many different types of broadband access, including kind of fiber. But fiber, as we know, cannot be everywhere, especially kind of in rural areas. And any of those that are hard to reach or really too expensive to reach. That's where the LEO, the low Earth orbit satellite, comes into place. Because if they reach everywhere through our constellation of satellite networks, that's why we're so excited. Amazon knows how to make affordable devices and products and services for our customers. That is what Project Kuiper is going to be. And we've got great speeds already. You're going to see for our business customers, or they have like gigabyte or like download speed. Our individuals with the various customer terminals are going to receive 400 megabytes per second, 100 megabytes per second. This is going to be really high quality. It's going to be affordable broadband that can reach everywhere, and we think it will help close the visual divide unless we stay to around one.
All right. So, Gallo, I want to just turn a little bit towards economic impact and job creation. And we heard Brian and Congressman Smith talk about how they see the emergent economic activity unfolding. Tell us a little bit about, from your perspective and organization, what's the impact on job creation and STEM, other nicer opportunities here, so to bird jobs and create practice.
Sure. Well, thank you also for having us here, everyone, and nice to see Mike and have this conversation with Representative Smith and Brian. First of all, I wanted to say a little bit about Space Northwest. We're an organization that grew out of a need, really, in Washington State to represent the space industry here, which is really diverse. We have such a diverse industry, ranging from launch companies, satellite companies, to propulsion companies, testing, and you name it, it's across the board. We have just so many things going on where most people don't know about that. In terms of the workforce, the Puget Sound Regional Council did a study on space, the first study here in Washington State, in 2018. They did an update in 2022, and within that time frame, the workforce had doubled. And from what I just heard you say, Mike, 13,000 employees, and I'm assuming that's in direct employment, that's another doubling since 2022. So in 2 years, the workforce has doubled. So that's just a sign of how much the states are willing to move forward in our state. And so we need to have a workforce that can make that. What some of what Space Northwest is doing is collaborating. So I kind of stepped on myself a bit. So we do economic development, workforce development. We do a lot of events. We work nationally and internationally. And we're highly collaborative. We work with, just different municipalities and in different levels of government. So some of the things that we do for workforce development is the legislature last year or the year before put in place a group of about 70 companies, or I should say entities, that were tasked with figuring out what the industry needs. And it was the Aerospace, Aviation and Aerospace Advisory Committee, the subgroup. So one of the subgroups was space and satellites. Space Northwest was involved in that. And part of it was workforce development. So we put forward some recommendations to the legislature. You'll continue to do that. We're working on other legislative imperatives with different groups. We do roundtables with industry. A lot of this needs to be industry-led. And I can give you some examples of where that's worked, and aerospace specifically. First, thinking where, obviously, Kuiper's doing something right now that's industry-led, that their new training facility that get putting together. That's the kind of step that needs to be done. Several years ago, I was involved in REM as the Teachers Alliance. I was involved with Boeing on putting together Flood Plus, which is a program that helps satisfy credits for junior and high school students in these kind of training, manufacturing kind of capacity goals. And then also Washington is another example of an industry-led group. Space Northwest is also involved in AJAC, which is a apprenticeship program. And we're also involved in TCAUTI, which is part of the University of Washington. We have our own programs that seek to create and support entrepreneurs, people who are really excited about getting into the space industry. And then if you look at companies like Blue Origin, that has a book with a feature, they're trying to give it at a young age, and kind of giving these experiences to be interested in STEM. And even the city of Tech, they have created a new park, Book Fishing Park, that is the experiential learning for students as young as and toddlers even really can go and play at the park, but meeting their needs up as they grow and giving those learning experiences. So all of this is to say that the workforce of the future are really the young individuals that we need to embrace and have programs for. And there's been a lot done, but there is also a lot that still needs to be done. And a lot of this, but the underserved and the marginalized, and sitting to make sure that they're always the focus of what we do.
On that, back to you, Brian. So tell us a little bit about the scope of Amazon's investment here in space, and then also just on those jobs, what kind of jobs are they talking? What are the needs could be?
Yeah, absolutely. Puget Sound is the center of Amazon's Project Kuiper. You've got 2,000 people working on Project Kuiper here. Our headquarters are in Redmond, and it's where the engineering and the design takes place. We just announced, I think you saw some of a new video with Senator Cantwell, the opening of our satellite manufacturing facility in Kirkland. So that's where the satellite should be go. And it takes years and years normally to design such an advanced manufacturing facility. You're able to do it it's an incredibly high tech. You have the capacity to build up to 5 satellites per day, which is just an incredible now. But to be built here kind of in Kirkland. We also opened a logistics facility in Epic that's going to really help speed the supply chain in the development of those satellites. At our Kirkland facility, we had a 120 people working. That's over halfway to our goal of 200 employees at the Kirkland manufacturing facility. And most of those jobs are not going to require 4 years, as could be. So they're doing manufacturing jobs. But as Pili said, the workforce is critical. Puget Sound and Washington State are going to do the center. We are currently, and we will continue to be the center of this advanced aerospace and manufacturing. But we need to train the workforce of the future. Amazon partnered with the Lake Washington Institute Technology to create a new technician certificate program for satellite technicians. So we're helping to train and create a new class of jobs. We're incredibly excited about that. I believe it's just the beginning. But there are so many future economic opportunities because of the manufacturers, because of the space industry that's happening here in Washington. We're very proud to be part of that.
Back from by the second back to Hollywood, but when you brought up a couple points earlier with the yardage of footprints that you see filling the BP applies government investments, Department of Defense, your Department from chairing the House Armed Services Committee. And so how are we able to support our military personnel, particularly in the near decades eased on with the technology we're talking about? But you also mentioned public-private partnership. How will you see that ecosystem evolve, and what does that look like from the federal government side of the equation?
Well, it's moving in a very positive direction. Certainly there will be government investment. We see that there's defense and non-defense side. NASA, there's a whole bunch of projects they work with, Brewery and other companies on that as well. We have our defense needs. But the big shift, if you look back at where the money was at in the 50s and 60s, so much of the investments in new technology and innovation is coming from the government. And that's not what's happening. It is coming from the private sector. I hesitate to say this as praising Elon Musk at this particular moment. It's problematic in some respects. SpaceX made an enormous difference. You got to get the easiest way to think about this is go back to 2007, where Boeing and Lockheed formed the Launch Alliance, and they said competition doesn't work. It's too expensive. There's not enough contracts to go on. That if we force us to compete, you're us to be able to do it, and not how it's true at the time. Certainly, though, it was very nuts being very put in veracity, but whatever, they did that. And then with Elon Musk's, without any defense money, or SpaceX, and said, would you compete? Well, they did. And they built Wall Street. And that really started the idea that, wow, there's enough going on in the commercial sector that the government doesn't have to settle for a monopoly. We can take advantage of that competition, take advantage of that private investment. Now, we've been here in terms of making changes that are necessary to take advantage of that. One of the things I'm trying to change is we've got long-term contracts. Well, as new companies are coming out, the new innovations are turning up. Okay, you get out a 10-year contract on a satellite or on the service. Well, somebody comes up with something better in 2 years, you got to wait 2 years before you take advantage of it. So it's a shift in thinking to see the commercial investment as crucial and to spur innovation. And I mentioned SpaceX, obviously, on Amazon, gathering the Kuiper, the Origins there. There are dozens of different companies, certainly here across the country, where they're coming up with new and innovative technologies. We need to encourage that competition. We'll create those opportunities. And again, I really want to footstop how important space is to our national security. It was also certainly important to connectivity and equality, but we can't really do anything with we do without secure space communications. One final point on that, having more than just a single point of film. And this is the change. We used to make, on the government side, a small number of exquisite systems. So we're not sophisticated. But if they went out of service, or with the Russians are developing, the Chinese as well, their outer space capabilities. So now we are going through a distributed architecture. They've been providing crucial information on the battlefield because they created it in usually all those different companies. There's a small company up in Redmond called Panetta that does secure communications that is able to pull together. Yeah, if one signal gets blocked, it can quickly relay it to another signal. But to do that, you need a massive architecture, which I think we're built. I think that's where we're at.
What build on Travis's stress points? We spent a lot ago with the big guys over here at big corporations, Amazon. We got the federal government and their footprint. But tell us a little bit about what you've seen in terms of as far as fostering innovation, the startup community in this sector, but cross-collaboration opportunities with academia and other industry experts. What had been some examples of where we could continue to sort of really seed our growth with the startup community and innovation overall, Bob?
I think that's a personality question. And CSAP, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have a lot of programs that kind of address the window exchange. So we host on PetStars and the NASA Hackathon, things like that. We worked with the Department of the Defense Innovation Unit, the Department of Defense, and NASA on SSIB, which is the Shared Space Industrial Base event that we posted twice now, and kind of inviting these entrepreneurs and innovators and the people who are, we definitely have a lot of corporations that thank you, but we really focus on smaller companies as well that need to have their voices heard and also different these important groups. And we focused on, for instance, rocket propulsion and the space architecture one. I can't remember, hyperspace architecture, things like that. We also had earlier this summer, we hosted Seattle Space Week, where we worked with a bunch of industry groups and with a bunch of municipalities to kind of advance the whole ecosystem. And I think a lot of that is about having the opportunity for them to come together and talk and network and learn from each other. We also had the Brown Table where that's peer about what they think is legal in the industry as well, from the state of Washington and federally as well. And then there's just a lot of things that we need to do, I think, in order to address the needs of the industry, from the startups to I guess we want to say giants at this point. Some of that is regulatory, and then we talk about that to some degree. But a lot of that is just helping them understand that they can, the collaboration does work as well. Because a lot of times you'll get this great legacy, as Representative Smith mentioned, or you did, Mike, the 60-year legacy we have here in Washington State from aerospace, aviation a little bit. And you have this amazing supply chain with about 1,500 suppliers. And right now, the space industry is a little more vertically integrated than other kind of sectors. And I'm not sure what that is. It's probably to some degree economic. It might be trust. I'm not sure. Might be time. But at any rate, you have this amazing supply chain that could butt in and help if that'd be an opportunity. And so, if there's a way to put those together, that'd be amazing as well.
All right, because that's question I'm going to ask first all three of you. And we have benefit of having, say, legislators in the room, governments, mayor, city council members, and I think it's important for us to get each of your perspectives as far as where are the public-private partnership opportunities? How will they continue to foster competitiveness in this sector, continue to foster growth and innovation? From each of your perspectives, what are some thoughts or perspectives on local policy, technology, growth, visiting it very well? Then they just go, Brian.
Sure, man. Yeah, that sounds great. You definitely partnerships and your relationships with the private sector and with government officials at all levels are actually pretty important. At the local level, we have sensory partners in all regions where we have our Kuiper facilities and our other employees here in Puget Sound. where you can't build the manufacturing facilities and logistics facilities without that great partnership, and we very much appreciate that. With it was stable is recognizing that fiber is not the solution for everything to help pose with the dual divide, is that this real technology is a tremendous solution and opportunity that we're incredibly excited about. If people make a very significant difference in employment, in connectivity, all across the state. And I think at the federal government, Congress, which has been such a leader in your recognizing the power of the technology, how that will help protect the U.S. national security interests. U.S. need to do it. We need many options and opportunities. Amazon very much fully believes that the U.S. government and all government should have the access to the best available technology, and we very much support a mission of our U.S. government agencies, including DoD and NASA and Intelligence Community, and we're very happy and look forward to support those agencies and initiatives out of our technology and different ways we're making a difference.
So, I think one thing that I think would serve our state well would be a partnership with government for an incubator specific to the space industry or to tech and related industries. It is something that would advance people at the startup innovative stage, and even companies that are working on frameworks or stealth stuff, that kind of stuff. We could also benefit from working with government on private partnerships for testing facilities. We've got some great ones now in Moses Lake, but we can have those elsewhere as well. And that because I think a lot of times proximity for testing some of this equipment that's getting built is really important. And so if we could get some sort of facilitation of that, that'd be amazing. There are other opportunities as well, but those are the ones that come to mind.
To pull out a question for what the government standpoint, what can be the sort of, build up the space industry? I think, three things. One, obviously, is Brian K. working on, permit and see a tent, shout out, they've done a great job with Blue Origin. It's in my district. I forget they built like this whole new facility in like less than a year from idea to when is up and people were working there. And certainly that's a testimony to Blue's leadership. It's also a testimony to the city of Camp, figuring out how to work with business in a cooperative way. But I'd say the two biggest things, and the second one are surprisingly big. Workforce development with me talk a lot about it. We got how to eat. And I think we're doing a decent job of that. As some of you in this room know, I've been somewhat critical of our region in terms of how we're handling things like the criminal justice system and homelessness and behavioral health. But one policy area that I have to argue like is workforce development. You see a lot of cooperation from businesses, unions, community technical colleges, and increasingly high schools. Aviation High School, Raisbeck Aviation High School now, spectacular idea that has really helped in terms of getting young people interested in this. So workforce development, I think, is absolutely crucial. But the other thing I want to mention is affordability. Because you would certainly have the talent, the history here, everyone in this panel have outlined. But if you're talking about coming to this region and trying to figure out warfare, the fact that housing is so expensive and the quality of our public education system is not where it needs to be. If you're going to build a place that people want to come, they don't just come here to work, they also come here to live. And our housing crisis right now in this region is really complicated things. Not everybody who works in these companies is going to be making $200,000 a year with stock options. How are you going to afford a place to live? We have got to get better at building housing, building it affordably. You cannot have the nightmare permitting process that we have and all requirements that go into that and be able to build enough housing. And I know there are a lot of people in the region here who are strong advocates of spending more money on housing. And I applaud that idea. But if we don't change the cost structure of what it costs to build that housing, there is not enough money in the world to pay what we need here. So I really think as local community leaders, we get together and say, how is it possible for someone who's going to work here? How are they going to afford to live here? Okay, from the standpoint of education and housing are the two big ones. Healthcare and energy are two others. But housing. Make it more affordable so that people can afford to live here. And I think that will be enormously helpful in growing this very fruitful industry that we have.
Congressman Brian Kelly, thank you for the engaging discussion this afternoon. I think you covered quite a bit of territory of a short window of time, and out of fear, and I mean, never want to not leave enough time for Joe Fane to close us out, right? So in the spirit of that and getting us out here on time, I want to thank our panel. Please join me in thanking them for their dialogue and voting.
The first time I met Adam, I was 12 years old, and I was answering my door in his 33rd district, and he was doorbelling for re-election to the state senate. And so I was a fan of him then. I'm a fan of him now. I'm a bigger fan of his wife. But I just have to reiterate the applause line there on housing could not be more well stated and could not be more appropriate to the conversation, because as we reach for the stars, we've got to make sure that we've got pillows to rest our head on after we do all that hard work. And so I'm very excited about the work that Robelson and the City Council and Bellevue is working on that. I think we're going to make a lot of progress. But yeah, we got to bring those costs down. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate Mike Pugh moderating it today and the leadership that was brought to the Commerce Department to focus specifically on the square. I'm a big space nerd. Been working very hard to get my kids excited about Star Trek because I'm a Star Trek fan. And I succeeded this week, and they're finally interested in watching Strange New Worlds. And unfortunately, the one of the first episodes is the Gorn, and it's basically an A ripoff, and it's very scary. And so if I look tired, it's because for the last 2 nights, my 6-year-old has crawled into bed with me at 4 a.m. Because he is afraid that the Gorn is going to get him. There are no Gorn in low Earth orbit currently. I've got a couple of really great programs coming up that I do want to invite folks to and make sure they're part of it. Certainly our lunch program. This is our last lunch program until March because we've got a lot of other stuff through the holidays. But kicking off first with our Economic Forecast Summit with Joe Kringland, the Chief Market Analyst for Bank of America. This event is going to fill up fast. It's coming up on the 14th of November, and it is an all-around favorite. So please make sure you get that on your calendar. Sponsored by Bank of America. Our DC Flying is coming up, but we've got a lot of great folks that are starting to come along with that, new registrants. This is our great opportunity to go back to DC and get to see Congressman Smick again. We just can't get it up with this guy. So December 3rd through 6th, I saw what restaurant we'll be dining at, and you'll all be very happy. So make sure to make your reservation. Soon after we get back, our holiday elected meetings party is on the 10th, sponsored by Comcast right there on Snowflake Lane. So make sure you can come and enjoy our holiday event as well as networking opportunity with, dozens of these scores of elected officials, and then get to pop right outside and see all of the hard work that Kemper Freeman and the Freeman family and Bellevue Collection puts on for the great Snowflake Lane event. Right there on Bellevue Way. I'm so excited to bring folks, particularly from the West Side, over to enjoy that event. There was a port commissioner who will remain nameless who was at one a few years ago. And TD with the space conversations, the sea of contact from contactor Jodie Foster says, you should have sent a poet. That was basically his reaction and went out and saw right as the pandemic was winding down and he's videotaping Snowflake Lane. You have no idea the majesty that we have here on WA. So please come up and join us for that event. Our Women's Leadership Conference is February 25th. We've got a great lineup for that. So again, I hope we'll get all those wonderful events on your schedule. I want to thank our co-presenting sponsors, Umpqua, the Bellevue Collection, and of course, Vulcan Real Estate, and our media partner, Lois. I also want to give a huge thanks to one of the best friends that Dudley Chamber has, of course, the Amazon organization, and all of the people power that they lend to this organization, but also for their support for this event, and for bringing so many of you here at deeply discounted prices. So for that, you can thank your good friends at Amazon. Again, let's finish off here with a wonderful round of applause to our capitalist plan. Thank you so much for being here. Had a great afternoon.